News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Preparing for a measles outbreak in western Montana. Good morning, everyone. This is Montana Morning. It's Friday, February 6, 2015. Right now we have 36 degrees under a partly cloudy sky. Roads are barren dry or barren wet at this time, and our newscast is sponsored by Kootenai Creek Village, the maintenance-free active adult community located in Stevensville, where you'll find the best of western Montana living. A measles outbreak that appears to have started at Disneyland in California has spread north and is now being diagnosed in at least one state bordering Montana. Missoula County Health Department Health Officer Ellen Leahy says the county is attempting to prepare staff for a disease that hasn't had a major outbreak in decades.
We are certainly answering a lot more public questions. We have regular infectious disease control meetings, and at our last one we reviewed the CDC guidance for measles. We do have some very young and wonderful staff here who have not been involved with trying to control exposure to measles, and so we emphasize how very contagious it is.
If a person with measles coughs and then leaves a room, the virus can still spread from droplets left in the air, a feat that few, if any, other viruses can boast. The speed and ease of transmission is a major concern to Leahy.
We're just all on guard right now because we know how fast it spreads. I mean, look at this spread. It's, 14 states already? For me, on this domestic front, it is the most contagious disease that we've had to deal with, and we have not had to deal with it here in this department for, 20 years.
Measles is a preventable disease, and the Missoula Health Department has measles, mumps, and rubella vaccinations on hand. Leahy advises the public to get vaccinated before word of an outbreak does occur. Today, Missoula area first responders will be gathering to learn how to deal with an urban avalanche. It's something Fire Chief Jason Deal never expected to encounter, but was forced to face last February when an avalanche buried 2 adults and a child at the base of Mount Jumbo.
It's nothing that I had seen or anticipated seeing within the city limits. It really made us realize that we weren't prepared for that. Fortunately, in that instance, we had firefighters that had training from outside the fire department and actually had avalanche probes in their personal vehicles at the fire station.
Deal says the Jumbo avalanche showed him how basic fire training is insufficient for dealing with an urban avalanche.
In a typical fire response, our first action is to evacuate and get everybody away. But in the Jumbo avalanche situation, the citizens of Missoula were the tremendous resource, and I don't think it would have been possible to rescue the people without their assistance.
Tom Mattis, an emergency programs manager from Juneau, Alaska, is flying down to conduct the training. Mattis used to work as a member of the ski patrol at Snowball, where some of that training will be held. Ambassador Mark Johnson of Missoula spent most of his professional life serving the U.S. government in the Middle East and has a unique perspective on ISIS and their use of torture and barbarism.
But it's almost like a corporate strategy. This is what ISIS calls the management of savagery. They want to commit the most brutal acts possible. They want to send a message to the region, to the United States, to the civilized world, and they have discovered that it is effective as a recruiting tool.
Johnson says the West and all freedom-loving cultures must stand behind Jordan in their efforts to fight ISIS.
I think right now, U.S. and other friendly countries ought to be doing whatever they can to help the Jordanians take the battle to ISIS. I think that's very critical right now. And that'll send a signal back to these terrorists that they're alone and they're isolated and civilization stands against them. Johnson
was the founder of the Montana World Affairs Council. Montana Governor Steve Bullock and Senator Dwayne Ankney of Colstrip are pushing for a full disclosure of political donations under proposed legislation. The Democrat-Republican duo touted 4 bills in a press conference yesterday that would require political donation disclosures. 3 of the 4 proposals arrived in the legislature this week as House Bills 406 and 409 and Senate Bill 267. The widest sweeping of their campaign finance measures likely will be introduced next week. Republicans have called Bullock a hypocrite for demanding disclosure of campaign contributions, citing his undisclosed fundraising through the Democratic Governors Association. A Democratic lawmaker has called for Montana to support a convention that would amend the U.S. Constitution to require what she calls free and fair elections. Representative Ellie Hill of Missoula introduced House Joint Resolution 3 of the State Administration Committee yesterday. She says an amendment is needed to get big money and corporations out of elections. It takes 34 states to trigger a convention. And yesterday, the Montana Senate passed a bill 26-23 that would make it legal for students to carry guns on college campuses. The debate during yesterday's second reading centered on Second Amendment rights and the safety guns could provide for women on campus. These points were heavily debated first by Senator Kristen Hansen of Havre.
I don't think there are a ton of young women who want to carry a handgun, but I do think there are some, and they are qualified to do so.
Senator Dwayne Agnew of Colstrip was one Republican to vote against it.
No doubt in my mind, Senator Hansen has the training. She'd know what to do. But what could happen if there was a shooting and they come out of those dorms and they're armed? They're not going to ask you questions. They're going to shoot you.
The bill now heads to the House of Representatives at the Montana Legislature. Montana Insurance Commissioner Monica Lindeen has said that the major data breach suffered by insurance giant Anthem may not affect many Montanans. Here's spokeswoman Jennifer McKee.
The company is called Anthem Incorporated. They sell several lines of insurance, including health insurance. I've seen some descriptions of them as the nation's second largest health insurer. But in Montana, they don't sell any health insurance.
McKee said no major insurance carriers in Montana have been compromised by such massive hacking.
None that I'm aware of. Very unusual experience, thankfully, and I'm not aware of it happening into any Montana insurance companies.
Anybody with questions about protecting themselves against this kind of attack is encouraged to contact the Office of the State Insurance Commissioner. That number is 1-800-332-6148. Montana lawmakers are considering legislation that would remove the words half-breed and breed from the names of creeks and other places around the state. Republican Representative Nicholas Schwader of Superior introduced House Bill 331 of the State Administration Committee yesterday. He says it's the government's duty to remove offensive language from the places they name. The bill would require state and other agencies to remove the names from maps, signs, and markers when age or vandalism call for an update, but also create a volunteer advisory group to determine replacement names. The idea for the bill came out of work with members of the Little Shell tribe of Chippewa Indians on the Montana Indian Languages Preservation Pilot Program. No one spoke in opposition. Our news talk time now is 6:10.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Off and on showers are expected today with a good deal of cloud cover. Temperatures will be warm with our highs topping out in the low 50s. Winds will be breezy with wind gusts up to 20 miles per hour. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.